What's up, captains? Welcome back to Turning Point, our gameplay series where we feature meta and sometimes off-meta matchups and then talk about the key plays of the game. Today I'm excited to bring you some Crocodile versus Big Mom action. Now, Crocodile is a deck that has gotten a lot of love because of the new support that it gets in OP04. Not that it's specific BW or Baroque Works support, but because it gets a lot more control with Thousand Worlds as well as Red Rock from sets 3 and 4 respectively. But now that we have set up, he did win the dice roll, decided to go first, puts that 1 Dawn on and passes. So no turn 1 play here. I go ahead, grab my 2 Dawn, and then for 2 I'm going to go ahead and play Sanji. If I remember correctly, I didn't mulligan, or I did mulligan, but did not see the putting, so unfortunately no turn 1 play search for me. He does go ahead, puts 5 into leader, and then for 3 does play a Sentomaru. He was telling me later that he was, searching essentially for Sentomaru. Crucial piece for how this Crocodile deck works. With 4, I'm debating things a little bit. Decided to put 5 into leader. He does take it. Thinking about it, does trigger it to bottom deck to Sanji, just to get a body off the board. And then for 4, I go ahead and put down Charlotte Cracker. Pass turn. Now at 5 Dawn, thinking about all of the options that he can do. By the way, I am speeding up some of the footage and the thought process into the turn, just in case things look a little weird. He's gonna go ahead and put 1 onto Sentomaru, and then activate the ability for 2, looking for a Pacifista. Puts out the starter Pacifista, which is a 4 cost, 6,000 power. Honestly, pretty nice attacker in subsequent turns. And then because he did the look through deck, does have to shuffle it, and then offers me to cut, which actually I did not know that was a thing that you should do. So it was pretty cool to learn some new, competitive tips and tricks as someone who's relatively new to the TCG space. Goes ahead, puts 5 into my leader. I do take it because generally I do want to be at 3 life. And then refresh, separating out the 2 for reasons. I go ahead, put 1 onto Charlotte Cracker because I do have less life than him. I will get double attack as well as the plus 1k. So 7 would double attack, see what he does. For 2, he is going to counter out of it with, I think it's Dragon Twister. Plus 4k, and then bottom deck's a cheap cost character, no targets. I put 2 onto Big Mom, activating the ability but swinging into his leader. He'll go ahead and take that as well. And then put 1 card from my hand into top of life. And then for 3, just going to go ahead and put down the Charlotte Prospero. Turn passes. He's now thinking about what he wants to do. Is going to put 1 onto the Pacifista. And because I no longer have less life than the opponent, Cracker is down to just a 5k at this point. And so I do put 3k onto him to counter out of it. And then he does swing 7 with Crocodile into Charlotte Cracker, deciding if it's worth protecting or not. I do have a lot of counters in my hand, but I think ultimately I prefer them for other turns. But it is a bit of a hard decision, to be honest. Ultimately, I do decide to just let the swing through. Cracker is KO'd, and then he does for 4 3k Worlds Prospero to the bottom of my deck. and then turn pass. So a really good turn for Crocodile. Was able to essentially clear my board. Well, not essentially. He did clear my board. I'm now at, I believe, my 8 Dawn turn. Go ahead, and I thought about potentially maybe, using Katakuri on the Pacifista, but instead I just load up Big Mom to KO Pacifista. I do want to activate the ability, which I did forget to do. Luckily, my opponent, being very generous, let me use the ability. But those are some of the things that you can kind of get away with at locals, but in the competitive scene, want to make sure that you get that right. And then for 2, I do just put down to Sanji, and then turn pass. Now, there's a couple of things that he can do, just trying to figure out what sequence he wants to do them in. Ultimately, he's going to start off by putting 2 onto Crocodile and swing 7 into my leader. Thinking about whether it's worth it to potentially activate the thing that I put in top of life. Ultimately, I do let it through, and then I do Thunderbolt the Sentomaru. Originally, I was saving Sentomaru for essentially whatever Pacifista he was able to summon out of it, but getting rid of the source of the problem, probably not a bad play. Then he throws down 4 for another Pacifista, and then 3 for Blocker Dofi. Decides to top deck all of that and then pass his turn. So I go ahead, start off by putting 2 onto Sanji. I'm gonna attack lead, activate the ability first. So I'm gonna see what that turns out to be. So I put 1 from life into my hand, and then put 1 from the top of my deck into life. Essentially just weird draw, and put 5 into leader. Trying to determine if he wants to take it. Goes ahead and puts down the 2k counter. Next, gonna go ahead and put 5 into leader as well. See if he wants to counter out that. Goes ahead and takes it, no trigger, and the reason why he was thinking so much is because he knew what was coming next. I decided to put down 8 cost Katakuri and bottom of life the Pacifista. So, turn pass. He now has all of his Dawn. There's a lot of options that he can do here. And tough decision because it is late in the game, and he's anticipating that I'm going to start going into my Big Mom plays. So to start off, he does put 3 onto his leader, swings 8 into my own. And from there, I do put down 2 2Ks, bring Big Mom up to 9. And then for 4, he plays the blocker Kuma. And then for another 3, puts down blocker Dofi. Trying to determine what is best. Thinking about it a little bit, and I was talking to him afterwards, wasn't quite happy with the cards he found in his hand, and so he actually goes and bottom decks it. And then turn passes. I think at this point I am trying to search for a 10 cost Big Mom. I don't think I had one in hand yet. So I've got to play it a little bit differently. Spread out the Dawn, spread out the resources a little bit more. Because of the 8 cost category, he is up on life, so gotta determine how to do this. First, gonna put 2 onto Sanji and swing 5 into the leader. Also activating the ability. Just rereading the ability, making sure that I can grab top of life, just because in the moment I thought I was reading something different. Goes ahead and takes it. No trigger. At this point, trying to stack my own life, so I put 2, well, I think about it a little bit. Trying to think about actual sequencing of things. So I go ahead and first swing 8 into leader. He goes ahead and blocks it, and then on KO, I believe, puts down another blocker Pacifista from OPL1. And then I put 2 onto Big Mom, swing 7 into the leader, activate the ability. Once again, I'm kind of essentially just trying to do some weird draw stuff. So I grab the top, since that came from top of deck, and then put that onto the bottom. Goes ahead and blocks it. And then from here, I do have 6 Dawn left. Put down 3 in order to play Blocker Brûlé, and then another 3 to play Prospero. That way I have a blocker as well as some added attacker aggression for next turn. So turn passes. Has 2 blockers but no real attackers on board, so I think he's trying to determine if he wants to do the big play. He does end up doing it, plays 9 for Mihawk, and is going to bottom deck the Prospero. Which, there goes my added aggression. He's going to swing 5k into Sanji, trying to determine if I want to even counter out of it. Decide not to, let Sanji go through. And then for 1, he does play Kaya. Ends up trashing the Centaur as well as a Soga King. Probably felt that it was a little too late in the game to try and use any of Centaur's abilities. Plus he's seen a lot of his Pacifistas that he runs in the deck. So turn passes. Once again, I'm at my 10 cost. Life is even, 2 apiece. I decide to test the waters, put a 5k into his leader. And he does ultimately counter out of it with, I believe it's Sasaki. So thinking about how I want to order this around, there's 1 unknown in life, and then there's the Pacifista. Go ahead and swing 8 into the leader first, just to see if he'll take or not. Because the other thing too is he does have 2 blockers on the field, and regardless, I do want to try and get rid of that that 1 card in life. And ultimately, this is a tough decision. He's trying to play out whether or not it's worth it to take it, whether or not it's worth it to block it. He does ultimately take it, no trigger. And then I go ahead and 10 cost, trashing the Pacifista and getting one more into my life. So now it's a 0 to 3 swing in terms of life. Got two pretty big bodies on the board. Obviously, as a yellow player, one of my biggest concerns is Red Rock. So I'm going to see if he busts it out in this turn. So he does bust out Red Rock, which does bottom deck my 10 cost Big Mom. Cost 6, so he has 4 active Dawn remaining. Goes ahead, puts one of them onto Mihawk, and then is swinging 10k into Katakuri. I do end up blocking that just because it's a huge hit. And then for 3, he does put down another blocker Dofi. Decides to top deck that. Based on the camera stuff I was looking at, he did see a lot of the control pieces he's looking for, and he knows that we're kind of in this part of the game. And he has a pretty defensive board with 3 blockers, and with me only having 2 attackers, he's pretty safe to assume that he can go into his next turn, right? But he's debating whether or not to attack with the leader, because he's, I think, a little afraid of whatever I put at the top of my deck. So instead of risking it, he decides to just pass turn without attacking leader. I think he's kind of thinking I have a Thunderbolt in there. So it's my turn. I have 10 Dawn again. Just going to start off with a simple 8 into lead. Because he has 0 life, I can kind of pressure him to block if he doesn't have the counters. And then next I am going to put 2 onto Big Mom. I'm going to grab top of my life and then put 1 from my hand onto top of life. So 7 into his leader does force him to block, so he does have 1 more blocker. And then my thought process for this whole turn was, how do I get rid of the 3rd blocker? You know, because I do have a 10 cost Big Mom in hand. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to play it now, even if it does recover me some life. So instead, I put, I do the Big Mom life cycling, and then I play 8 cost Katakuri to put the Pacifista blocker into life. Which is nice too, because it actually doesn't hold any counter power. And I still have 3 life compared to, the 2 probable attackers that he has on his board. And I'm pretty sure that he doesn't run any of the blue rush cards, which I think there's only one, Usopp. So turn passes, trying to determine what he wants to do. Does go ahead and put 4 counters onto Mihawk to blast into Katakuri. I'll let that through, no problem. He does Red Rock the other Katakuri, bottom decking it, which is kind of rough. And then once again, not really wanting to risk it, passes turn. I go ahead at this point, I do the 10 cost Big Mom play, which trashes the Pacifista that was in his life and puts me at 4, and then I'll just do a 5 into his leader just to see. He does counter out of it. Turn passes, and this is one where the writing's a little bit on the wall. He's trying to see what he can do to get out of the situation. Unfortunately, it is difficult. especially with only, I believe, 2, maybe 3 cards in hand. We ultimately decide to play it out, so he does go ahead for 6, does play the red rock, bottom decking Big Mom once again. Is going to swing 5 into leader. I go ahead and take that. I believe I take that. Yep. And then he does swing with Mihawk 9 into my 5. Once again, I just take it again. And then pass turn with 4 active. But with no blockers, as well as no life, I just decide to load up Big Mom and swing for 15. And that's game. Big Mom wins the match. But now that you've seen the result, let's talk about the turning point that led to Big Mom's victory. And I was talking to Jay a little bit about it afterwards, and just going through some of the footage early on in the game, he did mention that this turn was pretty crucial to how things turned out, right? So I think this is like maybe turn 3 or 4. He swings 7k with his Crocodile into my leader ability. I had just put a card into my life, so I did know what was in it, and the only reason I was hesitating was because I was anticipating using this on the Pacifista that he was going to summon. But instead, I do end up Thunderbolting Sentomaru. And that ended up being a crucial play because he wasn't able to get more Sentomars out onto the field, especially those attackers that can put pressure onto a traditional 5k leader. And it was also very hard to get rid of without using, removal abilities. But if he had done things kind of in reverse, where he used Sentomaru first, and then attacked into my leader, most likely I would have chosen the target as Pacifista, probably. Or the target would have been Sentomaru, but now he has an extra Pacifista on the board. I mean, sure, that wouldn't have allowed him to play, his probably 3-cost Dofi, but would have had, at least 2 Pacifistas potentially on board, which both would be incredibly difficult for Yellow to get rid of naturally. But that's kind of just our opinion based on our conversations about it. But what do you think is the turning point of this particular match? And if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Besides Turning Point, I do have another kind of more casual gameplay series in the works called Locals, which would be cool, kind of like a lower key, kind of vloggy video type thing. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with it, but kind of want to get the kind of sights and sounds of what playing at your local game store is like, right? But if you want to see more episodes of Turning Point, check out this Zoro versus Big Mom matchup. Actually was the round 1 of this particular locals tournament, and was ultimately really fun to see kind of 2 known decks in the meta, trying to see what they got from upgrades in the OPO4 stuff.